Echoing the Confederacy, Texas Governor Greg Abbott openly defies the United States Supreme Court. All that and more now on Graf's Grievances. Just 70 years ago, the United States Supreme Court unanimously ruled that separating children in public schools on the basis of race was unconstitutional. The milestone decision in Brown v. Board of Education faced massive resistance from white parents who did not want their children attending school with black children. And because the court did not specify how or when states would integrate their schools, many districts aggressively fought and delayed integration. In Arkansas, Governor Orville Faubus gained national attention when he called on the National Guard to prevent the integration of Central High School in Little Rock. The governor's flagrant defiance of the Supreme Court prompting President Dwight D. Eisenhower to become the first president since Reconstruction to use federal troops to enforce civil rights.
The very basis of our individual rights and freedoms rests upon the certainty that the President and the executive branch of government will support and ensure the carrying out of the decisions of the federal courts, even when necessary, with all the means at the President's command. Unless the President did so, anarchy would result.
And while Central High did integrate, thanks to federal troops, the 9 black students who first enrolled in the all-white institution faced daily harassment and threats from many of their white peers. President Eisenhower's decision to enforce the Supreme Court's ruling in Brown was not only critical to the civil rights movement, but to American democracy and the rule of law. Per the United States Constitution, the Supreme Court is the final arbiter of the law. Yet, it is up to the executive and legislative branches to carry out its rulings. So even though Eisenhower was no civil rights crusader and never publicly supported Brown, he knew he had a constitutional responsibility to ensure the court's ruling outlawing racial segregation in public schools was implemented. And while you would think that such recent precedent would serve as a cautionary tale for anyone thinking about defying the Supreme Court today, sadly that is not the case. In Texas, the Republican governor there, Greg Abbott, is actively violating a Supreme Court order issued just last week, allowing the federal government to remove razor wire installed by Texas along a portion of the U.S. Mexico border. The governor ordering the Texas National Guard to install even more wire along the border, despite the High Court affirming the federal government's authority over immigration matters.
Texas has a right as a state to stop criminals from coming into our state, to make arrests of those criminals. And we have National Guard as well as Texas Department of Public Safety officers who are there to make those arrests and to deny illegal entry.
Contrary to what the governor said there, Texas actually does not have a right to stop migrants from coming into his state. That, according to the conservative-dominated Supreme Court, is still the job of the federal government. Yet Abbott's decision to ignore the court's ruling has garnered the support of 25 Republican governors and, perhaps most importantly, former President Donald Trump.
On behalf of all Americans who want a strong and secure border, I want to express our thanks to Governor Greg Abbott and Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick and the great state of Texas, where we right now have about a 40-point lead, for rightly invoking the invasion clause of the U.S. Constitution. It is an invasion.
So there you have the presumptive 2024 Republican presidential nominee praising a governor for refusing to comply with a Supreme Court ruling. The question now is whether the Biden administration will take action to enforce the High Court's order and stop Texas from continuing to install dangerous razor wire along the border. If Texas is allowed to continue ignoring the Supreme Court with impunity, the Constitution will effectively be rendered meaningless, and the Texas governor, Greg Abbott, will have usurped the power of the president. That cannot be allowed to happen, and now is the time for President Biden to channel his inner Dwight D. Eisenhower and enforce the law. Thank you for watching Graf's Grievances. Let me know what you think. Please like, subscribe, share. It really helps me grow this channel, and join me tomorrow for more.